Welcome to Daily Armour. Today we're going to be in Colossians chapter number 3, looking at verse 15. Colossians 3 and verse 15, and it says, "And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful." I was just thinking about how thankful that I am for so many things. Big things, little details. But all of that is a result of the Lord's blessings. And I've noticed in my past that I have been so ungrateful. I've been so aggravated that I wasn't thankful for things that He did. I know that if I struggle with that maybe that at some point in your life you have struggled with that. Maybe that there's even something that you're not grateful about right now that the Lord wants you today to just be thankful, to be grateful. When I'm looking at the first part of this verse, and it says, "And let the peace of God rule." Let the peace of God rule. If you just look at that, God rule. That's what that means. That's what that's talking about. Let the peace of God rule. Let God decide what you can have, what you can't have, when it's time, when it's not quite time. Sometimes I'll think a lot of times when we are feeling the most ungrateful is when we're waiting on something to take place. And we're anxious and we're excited, but then we all of a sudden it kind of gets hard to wait. And I think we all have struggles with that. It gets hard to wait, especially in today's society where we have so many things. We have air fryers that make things cook quicker. We have microwave ovens that we can just, heat a whole meal up in like 1 minute. You can be eating in 1 minute. You don't have to wait to heat something up on the stove or to cook something on the stove. Like last night I fixed corn and I steamed it in the microwave 5 minutes and that side dish was ready. So quick. And so I'm so thankful for all that. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to, some of the stuff that was harder to do. I am so enjoying and so thankful for those wonderful amenities that we have. But at the same time, then I don't want to be ungrateful for when things are slow and when they are hard and when I don't, maybe, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you get to go somewhere, which I recently got to go to North Carolina, and it feels like I brought some cold weather back with me. So I'm still loving this today. I know it won't last. That's another portion of being grateful. I appreciate this cool weather. And at the same time, we live in Central Florida. It's not going to last. This is just temporary, and the warm weather's going to be back, and I have to appreciate if it's a day or a couple of days of cool weather. I have to appreciate what little bit that I do get to enjoy, and then at the same time appreciate when the warm weather comes back, because there's things that you can do in warm weather that you can't do so much when it's cool weather. Example, yesterday my granddaughter, we went outside to play and she goes straight for her water table. Well, it was like 50 degrees outside. I said, "No, baby, it's too cold for that." But we had all kinds of, we just ran, and I'm not a runner. But because it was cool, I felt like running. It felt so good. And we ran. I told her, I said, "Let's just run." And we just ran all over the yard and we played and she wanted to get in her swing. And we had so many fun things that we could do in the cool weather. We had such a blast. But at the same time, when that warm weather comes back, then we'll get the water table and we'll put water in it, and she'll splish and splash in that and pour, water in her cups. And there's things that we can do when it warms up that we can't do right this moment. We can do it by this afternoon, but we can't do it this morning. And so I'm just trying to be thankful no matter what the circumstances are. If it's cold, if it's hot, if it's, if my trip is short, if my trip is long, if my visits are short, if my visits are long, I'm trying to appreciate everything, no matter what it is. You take, for instance, that like I was talking about my trip to North Carolina, it was short and it was cut off even shorter. Todd decided that he wanted to leave even sooner. He was feeling the responsibility. He had 3 services to do when he got back. And so he was feeling the heaviness of that. And so he was like, we need to go ahead and go. I didn't get to see my best friend Donna, and I was very sad about that. And I did pout just a little bit, but I was grateful and thankful to get to visit with my brother's family, my mom, and that her procedure went it went so much better than I could have even expected, because she didn't even need anything done once they got in there. So it was just the Lord took care of it. The Lord did a miracle. He did his own little bypass. And we're just so thankful and so grateful. Got to visit with with Todd's parents for a little while, and got to ride up the mountain and back. And then after that, Todd was ready to go home. So we came back home. So, but grateful that we got to make the trip. Grateful that he got to go with me. I wasn't expecting him to get to go with me. He has a lot of responsibilities that prevent him from going with me a lot of times. But he really wanted to go, and the Lord made it possible for him to be able to go. And so we so appreciated, that a little quick trip up and back. And when I'm thinking about being grateful and being thankful, the way that we do that is when we are having peace, when we have peace with God, in God, and letting him rule our hearts. In other words, what does that mean? So whenever you're this heart that's when what our thoughts are. When we let God rule our thoughts, when we're feeling a little discouraged, but then we let God rule. We let God decide, and God doesn't want us to be discouraged. And he'll show a verse to you, or somebody will share a verse, and you'll look it up, and you'll be like, oh, I really needed that today. Or a song will come on, and it just gets your thought, it gets your focus, your feelings change. And maybe that you're having that, it's just in a moment, or you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or something happened and it got you real discouraged. But when you have the peace of God, and that's ruling your heart, what you're saying is, God rules my heart. God rules. Rule means that, I looked that up in the Bible dictionary, and it means to govern, prevail, decide, direct, control. When God has control of my heart, which is my thoughts, my feelings, my passions, the things that I want, the things that I feel strongly about, the things that I want to go for, the things that I want to see change, all these things, all these passions and desires, and those things, my affections and my purpose. When I'm letting God rule the purpose in my heart, when he is ruling, when he is deciding, when he is controlling, when he is directing, and I listen, and I change what needs to be changed, and I redirect my focus to where he's leading me and not over here where I'm wanting. See, there's some things that I want, and I know God's saying it's not time. And I don't want to be all pouty until I get it. He's not raising me to be a spoilt brat. He's not raising you to be a spoilt brat. He's the Father, and he gets to decide. He is our master. He is our creator. He is my everything. He saved me. He's my redeemer. He redeemed me. I belong to him. I belong to him. If you've been saved, you belong to him. And so when we are accepting of, maybe, you're short here or you're short there, but you're not dwelling on it, because you're letting God be in control. Lord, you know when it's time. You know when I'm ready. You know if that's even something that's good for me. I may want something and it's bad for me. Maybe it's something I'm not aware of. I remember when Hayden was small, and he was very, very strong-willed child, very focused on things sometimes. He liked knives. He wanted to get the scissors. He wanted a hammer. and a real hammer. He didn't want a play hammer. He wanted a real hammer. And I'm like, no, baby, you'll get hurt. That'll hurt you. That'll land on your foot. You'll put a hole in the wall. These are things that you're not ready for yet. When you get a little bit bigger, then, I'll let you have those things. And that's the way God does with us. Sometimes it's just not time. Sometimes you're just not ready. Sometimes if God let us have it now, it would bring us harm. It would hurt us. But when we're ready, then He'll bring it to pass if it's something that we just need to wait on. So what we do in the meantime is just be so thankful and so grateful for what we do have, and for what time God does allow us to have, and for what fellowship He does let us have, and for what He brings in, the people that He brings into our life. And even if they're just for a moment, even if they're just for a short time, appreciating that we have, and letting Him decide. The peace of God rule our hearts. So when we have, and letting the peace of God rule our hearts, letting Him take control, letting Him have the final say so. Lord, this is what I want, but what do you say? Even getting down to asking Him. Sometimes we don't even think we should have to ask. We think, oh, I got this, I can make this decision. I know what's best to do here. I don't think that about anything anymore. I think the older I get, the more I think that I have to run everything by Him. And He's like, exactly. That's what He wants. Because then when we run everything by Him and He gets to decide and He's ruling, then we can't go wrong. We can't go wrong because He knows what's best. And it says, if we continue on, and let the peace of God rule our heart, in your hearts, to the which also ye are called. See, this is where I go back to that He's my Redeemer. I have been called. He has given me a name, and I am a godchild. I am His child. I've been redeemed. I've been bought. I've been paid for, and I belong to Him, and that's my calling. My calling is unto Him. And when I am lining up with Him, when I'm not rebelling against that, I'm going to have peace. And then what's that going to produce? Which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. We're going to be thankful. We're going to be thankful for those tiniest little things. Any little step forward. Even when something looks like it's a step backwards, we're like, Lord, we know you're in control. We know you're in charge. And Lord, it's not looking good, but you know what? Sometimes, Lord, you dwindle the numbers down. Sometimes, Lord, you make things get a little harder, a little more stressful, because then that just makes us rely on you. We're not supposed to be stressed about it, because if we're relying on you, if we do have that trust in you like we say we do, we're going to have that peace of God in our hearts, no matter what the circumstances are. If things are rough, if things are, maybe even it's not even rough, maybe it's just in this pattern of nothing's changing. Maybe that it's like, Lord, I'm in this mode of waiting, and nothing is changing, and I'm just waiting for something to happen, and maybe that you're getting aggravated. Maybe you're getting frustrated. But be thankful for what's going. Notice the hand of God in everything. Notice every little detail. Notice everything, and be thankful. Be thankful. Sometimes we have to, when that word be, I looked it up. I thought, well, we know what the word be means. You just be, But I looked it up in the Bible dictionary just to kind of see what it said. And it was arise. I love that. Arise. That's something you have to get up and do. If you're gonna arise, you got to get up. You got to get up out of that bed. You got to get up out of that chair. You got to arise. You got to be thankful. You can't just hope for it. You got to be it. You got to get up, be assembled, be brought to pass, continue. It's something we do. This is what I get to do. I get to be thankful. I'm always asking, Lord, what can I do? What can I do? I want to do something, Lord. I'm waiting, and I'm that horse. I'm that racehorse that's in the pen, and it wants for, I'm ready for the charge. Lord, I'm ready to go. And he's like, be thankful. Arise and be thankful. And I'm like, that's so wonderful. He wants me to be thankful and appreciate everything. And when I'm so busy being thankful, then all that other stuff I'm waiting on, it just feels silly. Because he's going to bring it to pass when it's time. Because why? Because he's in control of the time. He tells the time when it's time. I just love that. I just love that when he gave that to me Sunday. He tells the time when it's time. And I'm just so tickled with that one little revelation that the Lord just shared with me, that I'm so struggling with time sometimes, but he's in control of the time. And I'm so thankful. So whatever you're going through, if things are looking, maybe there's no change, maybe that you're wanting things to get better, maybe today is a day when there's no change in it whatsoever, look around and notice everything that you should be thankful for and grateful for, and be that. Arise and be thankful. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.